So starting a Kickstarter project is actually not that complicated. And I've seen some videos on this subject on YouTube that are like 40 minutes long, which I think is overly complex. So I wanted to create a quick and simple video to show you how to start a Kickstarter project from start to finish. All right, let's dive in. All right, we made it to Kickstarter.com. Before I click the Start a Project button, really quickly, who am I? I am Mark Pakoda, the CEO and co-founder of LaunchBoom, and we help product creators launch their projects on Kickstarter. So, been doing this for a long time. That's why I know a lot about Kickstarter. 2013 was the first time we launched a project. Since that time, we've helped launch over 1,000 products. So, with that said, let's dive back in. So, if we go back to Kickstarter and we click on Start a Project, you are then going to click on it one more time. Now we're going to go into the first part of the setup, which is choosing your primary category and subcategory. So there are 15 categories, primary categories on Kickstarter. Take a look through these, see the one that makes the most sense. It should be pretty obvious, but just so you know, design, games, and technology are the biggest categories in terms of funds raised on the platform. And the reason why the category matters is that if I go back to Kickstarter, you can see they have all these categories listed here. And one of the coolest parts about Kickstarter is actually the discoverability. You know, they have a lot of people on the platform, backers that are looking for cool projects to actually buy. If you choose the right category, you're going to show up in this category and you're going to appeal to people that are in your audience. So it's important to choose the right one. So let's say that I choose design and product design, and all these subcategories are going to be dependent on whatever the primary category is. Next, you're going to go into one more subcategory. This doesn't really matter that much, but if you, for some reason, you feel like there is another category that makes it a little bit more relevant or a little bit more specific to you, go for it, but you don't actually have to choose one. So let's say I skip this. Next, we're going to go into the location of your project. Now, this can be a little bit confusing because this is not actually the location of where you reside. It is the location of where your bank account is. For most people, that's going to be the same, but it's not always the case. You know, let's say that you are living in Australia, but your bank account is in Austria for some reason. You would choose Austria. The simple thing here is wherever your bank account is, wherever you will be collecting the funds, that is what you choose. So let's say United States for me. I'm gonna move on. All right, now we are past the initial project setup and we're diving into the actual back end of setting up the project. So the first things is that you have to review the rules and press got it. They just wanna make sure that you actually read them. So read through them, they're very simple. All of them are important, especially take a look at the prohibited items. You don't wanna do all this work of getting it set up and then find out that the product that you're trying to launch is on their prohibited item list. So read through that, but let's go to got it. Now it shows up with the different categories that you need to fill out in order to launch your project. So let's start with basics. Okay, so now we're in basics. So we're gonna start off with your project title and subtitle. So these are the things that are gonna show up at the top of the campaign. If you type in, let's say paper cuts, I'll use what they have in here. It's a rowdy party game. Sounds fun. And I just click save really quickly. Oh, all right, hold on, they have this down here. I'll come back to this. They won't let me save unless I do that. So I'll save, then I'll go to preview. So this is the title and this is the subtitle. Okay, so obviously very important. And also, just so you know, you can always preview your campaign page as you save. All right, so let's go down. So you already chose the project category. You could update it if you want right here. Project location. So this is kind of confusing, right? Because this is actually different than what you chose prior. So let's say that it was the case that you are living somewhere different than where your bank account is, you can actually specify. So you can get very specific here. Let's even just say Australia. Let's say I'm in, did I completely spell it? Australia, Mexico? I didn't even know that was a thing. So let's go to Sydney in this case. All right, next up is the project image. So you can see the dimensions listed right here, 1024 by 576 at least. I recommend using something like Canva unless you have Photoshop or some other photo editing software, but Canva's free, super easy to use. So create your project image and upload it, and it's the thing that shows up here. So next we have the project video. It is technically optional, but not really, because every successful campaign, or pretty much every successful campaign, has one, so you definitely want to make one. So make it, upload it. Here are all the file formats. All right, target launch date. This is optional, like it says. There really is no big reason to do this. All it does is it allows Kickstarter to give you recommendations on when you should complete certain things that take some time, which I'll get to in a moment. We never do this. You don't have to do this. All right, next is the campaign duration. So you can either do fixed number of days, from 1 to 60, or end on a specific date and time. We like to do ending on a specific date and time because if you were to, let's say, do a fixed number of days, and let's say that you launch in the morning, let's just give it a time, 8 a.m., then it is going to end 30 days later at 8 a.m. And we don't like the campaigns to end in the mornings. No, it's better for it to end in the evenings, actually as late as possible, because you want to actually maximize the selling time during the last day, because there is a lot of people that wait to the very end. And so that urgency that happens in the last day, you want to take advantage of it. So let's say that you were going to do a 30-day campaign, and today, as I'm recording this, it's the 4th of December. So let's say that we want to end this about 30 days from now. The other thing is that I recommend ending on a Thursday. These just tend to perform better. And so I would do 11:59 p.m. and then whatever my time zone is to maximize the selling. And then lastly, this is the thing that I clicked earlier. Late pledges is relatively new. And all this means is that if you enable it, which I highly recommend that you do, that when your campaign ends, people can still back the campaign and it will still add on to the funds raised, and there will be no time limit anymore. So anyone that weren't able to actually pledge during the campaign still can. So funding, this is where you're going to be setting your goal. There's really only one thing to put in here, which by the way, you can use this project budget if you want and have them generate a spreadsheet for you, or use this calculator to try to figure out what your goal should be. Whatever you use, just know that you need to set a goal in here, because one of the big things about crowdfunding is that you need to hit your funding goal in order to get your funds. So make sure that you set your goal for the minimum amount that you need in order to make your project happen. Let's just say it was $10,000. I'll click save, and funding is done. So let's move on to rewards. All right, so rewards. So these are the things that people are going to back on your Kickstarter campaign. And there are 3 different parts of the reward section. You have items, reward tiers, and add-ons. Items are the things that are a part of your reward tiers or a part of your add-ons. Sounds kind of confusing, so let me actually just show you. If I go back out to Kickstarter and I click on a random project, so in this case, I'll click on the side quest project, and let's scroll down to their rewards. So you can see that they have their reward tiers right here. And if I look here, they have 4 items included in this reward. So let's click on details and then look at this a little bit more closely. So again, you have the reward tier right here, which is for $16, called digital, and it has 4 different items a part of it. It doesn't look like there are any add-ons. I want to show you one with add-ons. So if I want to choose this one, the print and digital, and I'll go ahead, you can see that right here, it also has add-ons. And each of these add-ons has items included in it as well. So again, items are included in reward tiers, and they're also included on add-ons. Add-ons can be then added to reward tiers, which basically operate as upsells. If I were to click this, and this, and this, you can see that the funding amount went up, or my pledge amount went up. So it's basically operating as an upsell. So coming back to this, let's actually set it up. So if I go to items, I want to set up my items first. So what are all the different things that are going to be a part of your reward tiers? So in this case, remember I'm making a party game. So let's just say party game is my main item they're going to get. So I'll save that. You can also add an image. I would recommend adding an image if you have one, just to make it so they can actually visually see it. And let's say I have another thing that is like a carrying case or something like that. So I'll click save. So now I have 2 items. Next, I'll go to reward tiers. So now let's actually create a reward. So if I click on reward, then I can start to build it. So let's say that I'm going to call my first one the early bird, and we'll put $10 off or something like that. So get an early copy for $10 off. Retail is going to be 30. Okay. And then if I go down here, you can choose an image if you want. I would recommend doing that. I don't have one for this. And let's say that my pledge amount is going to be 20. You can change the pledge amount for a late pledge. They, recommend that you actually increase that. I would as well. So let's just say it's 22 once it goes to late pledge. And then let's keep going. So you can also choose the project quantity. So making it unlimited or limited. This is pretty cool. If you want to create a bit of scarcity, you can create a limit to the amount of rewards that you have available. So let's say I make it 10. Then let's go to start and end. So you can actually make rewards available at very specific times. Probably the thing that is most used is that the end time. So if you want to say, hey, there's a limited quantity, but also a limited time that this is going to be available, maybe just the first day of launch, you can do that. So let's say you launched on the 10th. You could say, hey, this is going to be available until 11:59 p.m. So basically midnight on day 1. So that can be very cool. Next, we want to put in the items. Now, you created the items. So let's say that I'm going to choose that. You get one of the party game and one of the carrying case. Okay, you can actually create new items from here as well if you want. And then from here, you want to say, are they going to be receiving any physical goods? Yes or no? So let's say yes, and it's only going to be physical goods. And that's going to be very important when it comes to shipping. That's basically what they want to understand. So estimated delivery, you want to choose and try to be as accurate as you can here. Talk to your manufacturing partners, fulfillment partners prior to see when you actually think you can ship. So let's say I'm going to ship in February of 2026. And lastly, we'll get into shipping. So if I go to any of these, most typically people are going to be doing ships to certain countries. This is typically what I recommend doing, is that you're going to want to very specifically choose the countries. The way that shipping works on Kickstarter is that you actually have to give a flat rate per country, or you can do it per European Union in this case as well. And so you can give a flat rate for that country. You might already be thinking this, that actually can be very difficult to do, especially with countries that are much larger, and shipping rates can vary quite a bit across the country, like the United States even. And so what I recommend doing in most cases is actually putting all the countries that you're going to ship to, but making the cost 0 and making it clear on the campaign page that you're going to charge for shipping post-campaign. And you can use a tool like a pledge management tool in order to collect shipping at a later point. And that way you can actually give the most accurate rates and make sure that you don't lose money on shipping. All right, and the very last thing is add-ons. So you actually need to configure some add-ons first. And so we can go back to that in a moment and then add the add-ons from there. All right, so last step in rewards are add-ons. So add-ons are actually optional. You don't have to have an add-on. It's only if you have something additional to sell. So let's say that you do have something, you can go in here and do it. It basically works very similar to setting up the reward tier, except you're going to have to go back and configure the add-on here once you've created it. And like I showed you before, once you actually configure it, it will then show up for backers like this, and they can add it on. It's definitely a really, really powerful tool if you do have an add-on, but if you don't, then of course, there's no need to put something in there. Hey, real quick, if you want to go even deeper into the subject of launching your project on Kickstarter, then you should check out my book, Crowdfunded. It's actually the best-selling book on crowdfunding in the world. I have over 300 ratings with 4.7 out of 5 stars. You can get it on Kindle, audiobook, paperback, and it was also endorsed by both the CEO of Kickstarter and the CEO of Indiegogo. So I'll leave a link to check it out in the description below. But with that, let's get back to the video. So next up we have story. So story is what we call the campaign page. So everything that is going to appear below this image and below this story section. If I go back, they have this nice, like very minimal editor, and you can click here and see that this is how you actually change up some of the formatting or add specific things. The actual functionality of this is pretty basic, but it can still be quite powerful. And so typically what you'll see is that people will put in a mixture of text and images here. And so let's just say that I want to do a couple different headings. This is the best party game ever. Of course, horrible copywriting. Don't match my copywriting, but just to show this quickly, here's why it's awesome. And one more thing, let's say, here's the team behind it. Okay, so what I want to show you here is that if I go now to the preview, these headlines show up, of course, but also they show up here. So this is really important to understand, because if you're going to be using the headline feature within Kickstarter and using the text editor like that, then it will show up here on the left and people can click on it and it will take them to those sections. So that can be very powerful, but also if you have a ton of headlines, this can look really messy. So I would recommend using it pretty sparingly if you're going to, and then end up using a lot of images and different types of media as well. My recommendation here, this video is not going to be a masterclass on how to actually create a really good campaign page, but go look at some other campaigns that have done really well and then match the style and the different types of things that they're doing on their campaign. All right, so next we have the risks and challenges. So You want to be transparent about any risks or challenges that you see. If you want to see what this might look like, again, I would look at some of the campaigns that are live right now or have already been successful and look what they wrote. But typically people are talking about challenges they might face when it comes to manufacturing or fulfillment and things like that. So it doesn't have to be too long, but just map out anything right there. So if you have anything that matches this, you can click some of these boxes. If you use AI, you want to disclose that as well. And then FAQs. So I recommend adding FAQs. You don't have to have them in order to launch, but I do recommend thinking through some. Let's even see if this campaign right here has them. So you can just check out what they look like. If you go down here and click on FAQ, looks like they didn't add any. I would recommend to add some, but they will show up right here for backers or prospective backers to take a look at. So if we go back here, then what you're going to do is click save. Oh, of course I didn't do that. So we'll delete that, click save, and go up to plan. So the idea behind the planning section is to give backers an understanding of where you're actually at in your product development process. So if you want to read through these different sections right here, the idea, proof of concept, working prototype, pre-production, production, and basically say at what stage you are at. Most people are not going to be all the way at the production stage. And so you really just want to be honest, and you're going to need to have a working prototype in most cases, even to be accepted on Kickstarter. So probably you're going to be around here. I will keep moving on and go to the people section now. Since I'm using my account, we already have the LaunchBoom profile set up, but you'll probably be setting up a new one. So you'll want to set up your profile. You can edit it here, add an image, add a little bit more information about you, just so people can understand who you are. You can create a little vanity URL. So that's just like a nicer looking URL. And if you have any collaborators, so people you want to add to the project, you can do that. So you can add them to this project right here and they'll be able to log in. You can set the different permissions and everything as well. Lastly, there's some demographic information. This is totally optional, but this helps them out with some of their anti-discrimination research and work. So not necessary, but if you want to do that, you can. All right, let's move on to payment. All right, so for the payment section, this is where we're going to basically set up your bank account information and also verify your identity. So the first thing is that you're going to need to verify your contact email. So do that. Next, you're going to need to choose if you're an individual, a business, or a nonprofit. So when you go here, it will look different for you. I had already actually completed this because we are a business, but you'll have a drop down and you'll just have to choose what you are and then click continue. Then from there, it's going to open up this, which is where you're going to need to basically verify yourself with Stripe, which is their payment processor. It's the person that's going to actually facilitate the transfer of funds between Kickstarter and you. So clicking on this is actually going to open up a whole new window. So I'm not going to do that, but you're basically just going to put in all your information depending on what you chose as your project type. And then after that, this section will open up, which is going to be you just putting in your bank account information. So really simple, account number, routing number, and a little bit more information. And then that will be where they're going to actually send the funds to. So it's really important to get that right. Lastly, you're going to need to put in a payment source like a credit card or a debit card here. And this is only if there are chargebacks. So it's very rare, but if that happens, they want to have a payment card on file to be able to charge you and to be able to pay back the backer in the case of that happening. This is pretty rare, but if you want to learn more about this, they have this learn more button right here. All right, so that wraps up payments. Let's go to promotion. So promotion has a few different things for promoting your project, just like it sounds. So let's go through each of them. So first off, the project URL. You can see here, because I haven't submitted for review, I don't have this yet. And I'll talk about submitting for review in a moment, but just know that you will get a URL that you can share. The pre-launch page. So again, because we haven't gotten our project approved, we cannot launch a pre-launch page. I do recommend launching a pre-launch page, by the way, once you get the project approved, just so you know what that looks like. If we go back out here and let's say that we were to choose design, and then let's say we go to more filters and look at upcoming projects, you can see that they have upcoming projects or these pre-launch pages for all types of projects on Kickstarter. This is basically what you can create, and you can have people follow your campaign before it actually launches. So let's go back in here. Next, custom referral tags. This is a little bit more advanced. In most cases, you don't really need to put something here, but there's a way to do referral tracking once you actually go live. So if you want to have a little bit more customization behind what the tag looks like, you can put something in here. Google Analytics, highly recommend that you set this up. So this is going to help you with your tracking. So you're going to want to create a Google Analytics account. They have this nice, like really easy to follow help article here. And all you have to do is put in your tracking ID and then this API secret. Again, this will tell you how to do it. So just click on that link and they will show you how. Next up, Metapixel. So if you're planning on doing advertising, I would highly recommend using this. If you're not planning on advertising, I would highly recommend looking into planning on advertising because it's very, very effective. So you're gonna wanna look at this help article to figure out how to get the pixel ID and then put it in here. Then lastly, same thing on Meta. This is just going to enhance the tracking. And so I highly recommend that you do this as well. So put in all these different tracking IDs and that's going to allow you to track the success of your campaign within all these different services. All right, with the promotion tab done, let's go back to project overview. So what will happen next is that you're going to submit your project for review. Now, I haven't technically completed all these sections in this overview, but let's say that they were all done and they all have this green bubble and check mark. Then this project review section right here will be actually available for you to click on. And this is where you actually submit your project for approval to Kickstarter's team. They'll look over it, make sure it abides by all their rules and guidelines. And they say it takes about 1 to 3 business days, which is true, but I would still give yourself even more time, at least a week before you actually are looking to launch, just to make sure that you have enough time. So once you actually have completed the review process and you are approved, then you can launch this right down here. All right. And there will be another button for you to click once that's all done. And that's it. So it's quite simple. Actually, the things that are necessary for you to launch your campaign doesn't mean that it is necessarily easy to launch a successful campaign. And that's where we can come in. So you can either reach out to us if you are looking for some more help in launching your campaign, or I recommend checking out our YouTube channel, the rest of our YouTube channel. You're here right now, but I'll pull up some videos right now on the screen. You can take a look at these ones. There's tons of different videos for you to check out that goes really deep into all the ins and outs of launching a successful Kickstarter campaign. And I highly recommend that you take a look at this one in particular. This is my deep dive, my masterclass when it comes to Kickstarter, and it will teach you everything that you need to know from start to finish in 45 minutes. And by the end of it, you will understand how to launch a successful Kickstarter campaign from A to Z. So I hope to see you over there, and thanks for watching this video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.